great to hear people talking back to you. How are y'all feeling tonight? Good. Well, I would like to welcome you to Portable Paradise. My name is Ajanaé Dawkins. I am the artist in resident with the Urban Arts Center. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to have you all here for this programming and for the exhibition. I'm going to invite Peter Kahn up in a moment, but what you can expect tonight is some really phenomenal poetry from some student poets in the community. You can expect a little bit of reading from me and a very good friend of mine, Cynthia Amoah. And then we are just incredibly lucky to be welcoming Roger Robinson all the way from overseas. Yes, we can give a hand up for Roger Robinson. A lot of effort went into creating a space, went into putting on this event, and I will speak to more of that later, but we are so excited that you came to be a part of Paradise with us tonight. And as I get ready to welcome Peter, I just want to say a few words about him, because I'm really grateful that he came into my life when he did. We encountered each other by a very weird chance of him being in London and running into somebody who knew me. And he has been an incredibly generous mentor. I don't even know if he would consider himself a mentor, but a mentor figure for me. And so when he came with this idea for this event, I was so excited, and everything that Peter does bears a lot of fruit, both in people's lives and in terms of the event space. So please help me welcome Peter up.
Again, thank you all for being here. Hi, Morgan. Check out this environment. It's unbelievable, beautiful space. So what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of perspective on the week that led to this. But first, I'm going to ask the student poets. We have 12 student poets and 2 teachers, a teacher and a professor, to come over here so you can get up on stage quickly. So if you can do that, sorry, I should have let you know that earlier. And then I'll be introducing them in a bit. So a quick overview of the week. My buddy Roger Robinson flew in Friday night a week ago from London via Northampton. So we had to take a train down to London, then fly out here. On Monday, we worked at Bexley High School. And then on Tuesday, we went up to Denison. Wednesday, Otterbein. Thursday, we're at Ohio State, and here we are today. We did generative writing workshops on 3 different prompts. So your personal paradise, list poems, and then golden shovel poems. Raise your hand if you know what a golden shovel poem is. Raise your hand if you don't know what a golden shovel poem is. Let me tell you what a golden shovel poem is. The genius Terrence Hayes created this form honoring the late great poet Gwendolyn Brooks. And he took her poem, We Real Cool, and ran it down the right margin of the poem that he created. So his first line ended in we, his second line in real, cool, and so on and so forth. So students borrowed striking lines from Roger's poems to create their own golden shovel poems. So you're going to hear a mixture of those poems. I want to do some thank yous for the week, then Ajanaé is going to do thank yous for tonight, then we'll call up our student poets, and then we'll get to hear from Cynthia, Ajanaé, and Roger. So a lot of people to thank. This was not easy to pull together, right? So we got Steve Waddell. When I say your name, if you could stand up, please. These are people who helped out during the week. Steve Waddell. Cynthia Amoah. She's over there. Obviously, Ajanaé. Pedro Mina. Over here. And then Bexley High School, but particularly Laura Moore, who's going to be reading with us. Otterbein, particularly Margaret Kohler, who's going to be reading with us. Ohio State University, especially Lexi Smereka, who's a professor, Marcus Jackson, and most especially Maurice Stevens. Where are you, Maurice? Maurice is back there, who really was instrumental in this week. And then Denison University, who served as our fiscal sponsor, took care of all the paperwork, logistics, bureaucracy of bringing in international poet. So we had Julia Dasbach, Jean McElmont, and most especially Margot Singer, who's over here. everybody for tonight.
Okay, so to this thank you list, I would like to again reaffirm a thank you to the Urban Arts Space staff and the interns who are working in this space. When I say I literally thank God for them, they are incredibly hard workers, and I'm so grateful for them. I want to add a thank you for the artists who contributed work to this space. I say all the time that I become very aware of how limited my imagination is when I enter into collaborating with other artists. So thank you to all the artists for contributing and expanding my imagination. Thank you, Peter, for all of the legwork that you have done. Also, I see people in the back. We have seating up here if you are looking for seating in the front. Also, for any of the babies who like to sit on the floor and move around, we have some yoga mats because we are always child friendly. So I am going to pass this back to Peter for introductions.
All right. If you're ready to hear some poetry, on the count of 3, we'll do a crisp clap. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, you're in luck because we have some poets seated over here. So they're going to come up in the order that we appeared with them, right? So Bexley will go first. And then what I'd like you to do, first of all, can't touch the mic. Ajanaé is very clear about that. So don't touch the mic. Stand, I'm a little bit too close, right? Basically a fist away from the microphone. Look out that way. If you could introduce yourself and which prompt you used. And if you did a golden shovel poem, maybe the line that you borrowed, okay? Reverse alphabetical order by first name. Can you guys figure that out, or do I need to tell you? You want to? All right. So it's going to be Max, followed by Nico, followed by Owen. And then from Denison, it's going to be Sophia, followed by Fiona, followed by Evie. From Otterbein, it's going to be Ren, followed by Sage. And from Ohio State, it's going to be Owen, Mackenzie, Maggie, and Katie. Cool? All right, give it up for your student poets.
What up, guys? I'm Max. I did the list poem, and it was called 5 Minutes. Frightening me out of my sheets, my alarm goes off. We leave in 5 minutes. My bag is packed. A skateboard, grip tape peeling from the puddles it's ridden through on summer nights. A ukulele, covered in dust from the little amounts of times its strings have been touched. A journal, whose spine is gone from the constant opening up. A family picture, their heads shiny and clean, and notes from a loved one, folded 4 ways, creases bound to tear. I only needed 5 minutes. Thank you, guys.
My name is Nico, and my prompt was Paradise. It had been such a long day, followed by such a late night, but that didn't matter because it was paradise. We climbed up the steep hills all the way to the tennis courts. We ate ice cream, but we didn't have spoons or forks. We all laughed like we would never laugh again. The stars were so bright that night, and it was paradise. We couldn't agree on the music. What should have been a calm song was a mismatched playlist dotted with playful complaints. But it was all okay because it was paradise. In the heat of the summer, bugs crawled around freely, reveling in the warmth that had faded from the sunny day. As we laid there, they crawled over us, but even that was part of the paradise. I watched my best friend fall in and then out of love under those stars. I watched some people become a group, a paradise.
on the warmth of the sand, surrounded by sounds of seagulls squawking, for a cold ham sandwich, or the chip my sister dropped. The salty breeze drifting from head-toppling waves. The salty breeze, the crabs drifting in harmony as they duck from the salt water. Their paradise is the sand in which they never get washed away. My paradise is 5 o'clock somewhere with not a care in the world. It lives inside me. It lives in my sea green eyes that capture the light of the ocean on a warm July day. It lives in my ears, the rumbling of the crashing waves that topple an enthusiastic 6-year-old surfer. Paradise lives in my brown, sun-kissed hair, as if to say it never left. I am the ocean, it is me.
My name's Laura Moore, and I'm with the Bexley group. I'm a teacher, and I wrote about, actually I used the prompt for the list poem. On the short-sightedness of hypothetical situations. Kindergarten. It would have been Monk. His fur at that point, real. Like the Velveteen Rabbit, even though he was originally fluffy when my daddy brought him back from Milwaukee. 4th grade. It would have been Whitney on cassette, or maybe Joel Skinner, looped letters skimming the leather, a pair of black velvet high-heeled shoes, and a stack of letters from Albuquerque. Love, Selena Jean Martinez, your very best friend. 10th grade. It would have been the journals, and my mitt marked in Sharpie. Lisa Fernandez, number 16. Inside, a ball tacked together with really high seams, and I bring Dad's mitt too, the one that popped, the one that stopped everything so we could play catch. 18th grade, or do I say I was 23? And that it was on 99 John Street? Do I mention the 19 flakes we climbed before we got there? And that it wasn't a fire, it was a crash. An explosion that sent ash through an open window on an 80-degree day, or that when push came to shove, it was none of the above that I reached for. Once I signed the waivers. Once I looked at the dust all over the floor as I climbed flights in circles, holding a candle, thinking about more than just me, deciding what to grab for all 3 of us. A stash of clean underwear pulled from each drawer, 3 packs of pink pills, 3 cell phone chargers, a bag to carry my computer, the container for my words, and if I'm being honest, it was too heavy for my shoulder, but I brought it anyway because I couldn't pick up my trunk. And I couldn't bring Monk because he was already safe in my childhood bed. And as much as I loved them, I didn't think of the mitts. And the funny thing is, my favorite shoes mattered as little to me then as the clothes that hung in the closet. And because the journals, letters, and pictures were buried under who knows what, I had to leave them. But as we snaked back to the Upper East Side, they played across my mind, etched frame by frame like film tucked into a sleeve with a flap folded over. An artifact as abstract now as thinking about what I would pack if there were a fire. You have 30 seconds, they said. What would you bring? But they never asked a single thing about how we would carry it. The assignment failed to consider the heaviness, the weight of it all when you're in it, the climbing, crawling, walking, running, winding up streets that look like string from the top of buildings that once reigned supreme but are no longer there. It's that life I would have grabbed if I could have taken what I cared to keep. Instead, all I took can be traced back to a temporary need. I wonder if that was the thing my teacher wanted us to see.
That was incredible. I'm Sophia, I'm from Denison. I'm also doing a list poem. It's called Things You Can Get Past TSA in a Carry-On. stuffed brown horse with a scar at its ear where my dog caught hold of it one day. A maroon Swedish passport tucked separate from the cobalt blue American one, which will live in a backpack secret pocket. An old red Altoid box filled with my mother's old silver rings, 2 trusty chains, and at least 10 earrings. A sandwich ziploc of peppermint and green tea bags. A small hammer, tall as a pencil, and a gray zipper pouch with 3 pliers, spools of wire, a file, jump rings and clasps, but only if accompanied by a few choice bead strands too. When they open the scratched rose gold suitcase, throttle the plushie, and dig through sports bras on the way to this metal object, see the small plastic box of beads sitting close and friendly, then they will understand the tools, exhale and say, she is not a threat.
Again, a tough act to follow. My name is Fiona. I'm from Denison University, and I chose to do a golden shovel poem based on one of Roger's. The line I chose was, "One dark maroon fashion lipstick." And this is a poem from my grandmother. I too often forget that she's the one who bought me the lighthouse-shaped nightlight to ward off the dark, who patched with beige bandages my scrapes dyed maroon. Now I must watch her lose her words, muscle memory, any taste for fashion, and wonder how long it will take until I too can't apply my own lipstick. Thank you.
Oh gosh, really hard acts to follow again. My name's Emmy Brody. I'm from Denison. This is not a list poem, a golden shovel poem off of one of Roger's as well. I used the phrase, she had to leave urgently. This is no contact. I watched my mother as she flicked away her tears like they had bitten her. Our 2 heads, brow to brow. I could not force the grief to leave her gentle face. Instead, I held her urgently. Thank you.
My name is Ren. I'm from Otterbein University. The piece I took was based on Suitcase by Roger, and the line I took is numbers written in red, Schwanning. It's actually a reverse golden shovel, and I also added in some prose elements, so it's super fun.
Great.
Did it work? Can you hear me now? Yay! Okay. It's also, were you able to hear the first part too? I'm vertically challenged. It's also called quantifying death. Numbers spent their days on my head, counting down my life like a ticking bomb, written in the blood of my own trepidation. In the mirror, I tried to erase the mark on my head, scrubbing as furiously as if I smeared my lipstick. Red, crimson, ruby, bright as blood, the numbers stood hauntingly, counting down each day, one after another, after another, after another. They were unable to be erased. 20 days left on my head, seeping into my cranium like tar from tectonic fractures. But I will still count, even when the number is 0. Thank you.
How y'all doing tonight? I'm Sage Rutherford, and I chose the prompt list. My poem is called Eulogies in Light Shades of Green. My silk pillowcase lines the bedding of my temple. From it, the sweet fragrance of sandalwood, amber, and tangelo seeps from the pursed lips. In it lays Old Bay, from which beckons me to bushels of crabs in Chesapeake Bay from summers ago. A faded Revlon mascara I stole from my mother's bathroom cupboard while she was away. And lastly, the shea butter I keep to worship my skin of mahogany restlessness, from which reclaims a womanhood, a godhood of my own.
Hi, I'm Margaret Kohler. I teach in the English department at Otterbein, and I could not be prouder of Brennan Sage. I wrote a golden shovel of the poem Suitcase by Roger Robinson, and so the line that I wrote with, or the lines are, bristles, an address book with her mother, brothers, and sisters. No church service? At the news, my mother bristles and says, at the gravesite, and only an hour before the eclipse? I Googled the address of the cemetery, 30 miles to totality. No need to book that Airbnb near Buffalo. We know not to look with the naked eye at the sun or the gravesite. Jean wrote her own obituary, hailing at 97 her love of water sports. My mother cut her hair short at 14 to be like her aunt. My brothers can't make the service, but I'll take my boys and catch the eclipse after. Jean flew a small plane, I text my sisters.
Hey guys, my name is Owen Lewis. This is a list poem, and it's called Dante's Inventory. You will need 2 Zippo lighters. Cover them in the prints of 1,000 once-loved fingers. Hold them in your palms until your hands glow pink. Do not mistake the gentle tracings of the goodbyes as evidence that the fall is more powerful than the fire. 1 collected poems of Emily Dickinson. Ensure it's a hardcover. The binder's board will act as better fuel than the letting go. 4 standard issue pill bottles. Lorazepam, lithium, Lamictal, Xanax. You will not need the medication in paradise. 1 pack of Parliament Dark Blues. When my mother was 6, my grandfather died in a house fire. As he crashed out in his decomposing recliner, a cigarette slipped between his fingers, and the cut pile carpet blazed into mania. I can see that red that you cannot emulate. I can smell the flesh. From him I inherited my first name. 1 passport, never used. You will be denied escape until the very end, but the kindling will set you free.
Hi, I'm from OSU. My name's Mackenzie, and I did a list poem. My collection of kindling. I have a fireproof box in my closet. Black handle ready to grab at any moment. It's filled with my passport and pictures still in the orange-yellow CVS envelope for my 22nd birthday. I keep the box between jeans and sweaters. Dig past withered petals and find Corey's ashes and the blue-white origami swan he made in rehab. Unearth charred letters and crumbled dollar bills, and see the red-painted rosary from my mother that I can't seem to throw away. My house has never caught on fire, but I was 9 the first time I saw the paper notice curling away from the heat of the door, and I smelled smoke. And I promised, if my eyes ever water from the acrid air, if my lungs start to blister, I can reach into my closet, grab the metal box, and crawl out the window.
Hi there, my name is Maggie and I go to OSU. My poem is a list poem. Before I read my poem, I would like to acknowledge that we're occupying the land of the Delaware, Mingo, Shawnee, and Wyandot groups of indigenous people. Since Europeans have colonized this land, many of the indigenous peoples of Ohio have been forced onto reservations. Although this harm is irreversible, I encourage each of you to research ways to donate your time, money, or skills to these nations' named priorities. This poem is called Father Time, When Will Your Abuse End? What is our country if not a bundle of sage and cedar, a controlled burn intended to cleanse, crumbling beneath the weight of the world, leaving behind a trail of ash and polluting the air with smoke? Salvation lies in the stolen Salvia Alpiana, purity culture polluting land born free of sin. The mutilation of our mother, permitted under father's unmoving hands. Mutinous children littering water that once broke for them. Her womb legislated by a government that rules over stolen land. The culture that becomes a costume, removable unlike oppression, totem poles chiseled into crosses. They were told he would save them. As they are crucified, descendants call out, there is no heaven, you have been tricked. Your land and traditions have been tainted. Unalienable rights stolen. In exchange, you are labeled foreign in a country your people have known for centuries. Mother, you have watched over us for lifetimes. Father, your progression is a hideous thing.
Hello, my name is Kaden Bearfield. I go to OSU. I used the list poem prompt. This is called It Must Be Necessary after Roger Robinson's Suitcase. With enough years of practice, I easily store 6 days of outfits in a single backpack pocket. Crumpled $5 bills tucked in bunched socks stuffed in every jacket pocket. I pray to the gods of just in case, of what if, of what we've had to do without it. Most of the orange safety bottles hold hoarded prescriptions needed but rationed. Yet some hold thumbtacks, coarse salt, old to-dos as scrolls, as fortunes. Nothing unconsidered, an ex's birth certificate stored with the lack of fulfillment of medical record requests from the institution where I was unfree on my sweet 16. I leave this baggage behind, filling space with tarot cards I bought my best friend 3 Christmases before her last. She died on my little brother's birthday, so I packed something he gave me in the before times, willing this magic enough to extend the lives of those left in my usual and expected absence. I pack eyebrow tint, but never concealer. I am trying to look older, not prettier. I don't want spoken to. I want to look just alive enough no one tries to change that. A hairbrush my assaulter gave me before the deed unsheaths comical pink plastic knife. A memory aid, a false sense of safety. A tube of San Marzano tomato paste contrasted enough from toothpaste they won't get confused. When my depression creeps, Mom's sauce recipe far exceeds the importance of brushing my teeth.
All right, how about this? We're gonna let them go back to their seats. Let's clap it up for them until they get seated. So I was nervous earlier and I neglected to say this. They had 12 minutes of writing time to create these poems. Now, a few got revised a little bit, but Roger and I heard these and we're like, there's so much talent. This is unbelievable. And now you witnessed it yourself. So one last time, if you think they were talented, let them know.
I'm good. Wow. I was listening to some of the work coming out from students, and I think a lot about myself as a high school and college writer, and I wish I was that brave and committed to craft. So thank you to all of the student writers who contributed tonight. I have the honor of introducing a friend of mine, a sister of mine, a co-writer, and before I do that, introducing her and being in this space makes me think of and remember the fact that I am not from Columbus. I grew up between Michigan and New York, and as I look at the faces here and the people who collaborated with me to make this space happen, I'm reminded of the absolute communal pillars that welcomed me into Columbus, that continue to offer me helping hands, that continue to see me in spaces and let me know that community means showing up for each other. So I sit in a lot of gratitude. I want to give a huge thank you to our DJ and the person in charge of our sound tonight. His name is Osha. If you ever get the chance to go to an event DJ'd by him, it is a vibe, it is a good time. And he is one of a number of folks in Columbus who continue to remind me what it means to be in community. And another is going to be the lovely Cynthia Amoah. She is, yes, we can clap it up for Cynthia. She's the, yes. I've got the official bio here, so for time's sake, I'm not going to go too off the script, but Cynthia and I are in a collective together called the Giovanni Collective. She is, yes, I have another member of the Giovanni Collective in the back. Hi, Tasha. She also has a piece out. And Cynthia is an incredible poet. She's incredibly accomplished. She's incredibly community-minded. And I always like to name the people who made me feel less lonely when I moved to this space. So I'm always grateful to share a stage with Cynthia. So for the stuff that's actually on the paper, okay. Cynthia Amoah is a Columbus, Ohio-based poet, performer, and teaching artist. She received her MFA from the New School of Poetry in 2019, where she was awarded the prestigious Paul Violi Poetry Prize, as well as the Excellence in Poetry Prize. She began competing nationally in recitation and motivational speaking engagements in 2006. Since then, her dynamic voice and strong stage presence have captured and inspired diverse audiences, both locally and globally. Originally from Ghana, West Africa, Amoah's voice reflects the strong and colorful oral traditions of her homeland, which undoubtedly cultivates and shapes her work. Although influenced by diasporic motives, Amoah transcends limitations and labels, instead embracing a holistic, multifaceted identity. Thank you so much, and please welcome Cynthia to the stage.
And if I write the things I speak, what truth will rise from my bones? And if I believe that writing is breathing, and if I sing the words I breathe, and if they take flight off the page and carry to my heart and to yours, and if I pace my living room floors, isn't it the sound of mantra on my tongue? Isn't it still the rhythm, the conjuring, and cool? Isn't it the language, the act of saying alive, rising, the dust? And if they said to so very much. It is so incredible to be here. Once again, my name is Cynthia Amoah. I'm a Ghanaian-American poet, speaker, and teaching artist. I'm going to share one more piece with you all. It is a brief piece that came out of the Bexley workshop with Roger Robinson's Paradise piece. And if I speak of paradise, I speak of a quiet, poised sound. A prophecy my mother was once told. You have a poet coming, they said. She will arrive, her roaring parting the July day sky. Poems will pour from her mouth. You have a poet coming, they said. My mother hears the promise. My mother brushes off the story after a while, finds it hard to fully recount her journey. My mother's eyes, tinged with salt, glisten while sifting through memories. My mother slices the peppers for the corned beef stew. My mother, a lighthouse in murky water, portions the onions for the jollof rice. My mother lives through disaster, like a missile fire burning so fierce in her eyes. My mother says, when you ask for a story aligned with wounds, prepare for the taking. My mother, alone these days, gives everything her soft hands, her full breath. My mother, every day says, this too is a beginning. You can start here. That was my last piece. The greatest honor of introducing my sister back to the stage to share a few poems with you all. I think I could read the long bio, right? But the long bio is long. Because Ajanaé has an amazing list of accomplishments. Truly, her heart, her faith, her spirit, and her dedication to the craft is incredibly inspiring. I tell her all the time how proud I am of her and how much she inspires me. But I hope you see it, sis. I hope you know that I'm not lying, because we are truly living in your dream right now. And I hope you know that deeply. If we can give a huge round of applause to Ajanaé Dawkins. Which it only takes 10 minutes of knowing me to figure that out. I'm going to do two pieces for you. The first is a very old poem that I've been trying to retire for a long time. But I realized in a conversation in the car ride up that I can't retire it because every time I do this poem, folks feel in some way connected to paradise. So we'll start there. Who here knows who Viola Davis is? Raise a hand, raise a hand. Great. So if you remember in 2016 when Viola Davis won the Emmy for Best Lead Actress in a Drama, she's the first Black woman to win that Emmy. Anybody remember that? Great, okay, me too, that's why I wrote this. All right. When Viola Davis won, every Black girl bone in my Black girl body danced to the moon's age-old tune. The closet of Black girl talent crashed open and all the skeletons fell out on that stage when Harriet fell from her railroad teeth, all brown beauty and clawed freedom and whirled on her back and trembled in her throat. Every Black girl song I knew swayed its way heavy back through the gate of my hips. When Viola won, I watched her speech 9 times all day. I brought every dying thing to her name, and all my breaks I'm whispering,
Viola, like a geyser for relentless drought, like a spell, like I'm waiting for it to cast me its magic or something. Each time her name falls from my mouth, my body steadies like an anchor that won't let this joy just float away. When Viola won, suddenly my desk chair a pew. My legs held together with the stockings with the run, my edges pressed slick and smooth, because here she is, old Sunday morning glory, so much so that by the end of the speech, my stomach was growling, angry with that after-church hunger, like I fed it nothing but half-blooded praise and glory. Taraji P. Henson stands, and she is the whole congregation. When Viola won, I wanted my hair out. My body shook between my mama's legs, the comb in her hand, raking through my fro and all the shed, gathering like leaves. I wanted the magic of transparency, the glory of being undone, all prime time, all black girl like never before. When Viola won, I thought about all the hunting they've done, how black girls, we've been prey, but I saw her on that stage and I swore there was a rifle in her mouth that I watched her blow the bullets back or suck them out one by one, spit them in the face of anyone who dared cock a questioning smile, got the whole world wondering how her body made gunpowder out of nothing, how her body become the bullet and then reverse the corpse. When Viola won, I looked into her eyes, two beautiful flower bouquets with rose petals drifting down her cheeks, one by one, almost as if to ask, they love me, they love me not. And oh honey, they do. Okay, last poem, and then I have the honor of passing this microphone to our highlight feature for the night, which is Roger Robinson, who I am grateful that overseas I have been able to learn from him and from his work and from the people he has taught, who have sent me things and said, you have to learn about this poet, or you have to read this poet's work. I'm grateful to Roger for the title of this exhibition, Portable Paradise, and for shaping so much of what came in the creative direction. I have an aunt who went missing 32 years ago, and my family just got answers about what happened to her. She was murdered, but in the 31 years where she was gone, I imagined her a lot of places, and one of them was Mars. I used to think black girls were from Mars. Aunt Ruth told me once, and I just believed her. It made sense. When she said it, I was in the braid shop. Had 3 women isoscellating my head. They were dislocating the grammar of my hair into 3 parts of speech until language flowed down my back. Until I was milk carton photo ready. In my bag I carried what even Beyonce must have but can't sing about. A flyer with a black girl's face. On mine, my aunt's sunlit smile. Grease-licked skin, still blood-full and flesh-heavy. This was from before the drugs sallowed her laugh at. It's been too many years to beg, have you seen her? Still, I slink away from huddled trees as if, according to the statistics, a stranger would bury me there before a lover. Of course, I did my groveling in prayer. But God stone mutes at the worst times when you, grief-sick, searching, mad as hell, lost yourself. When a man got his hands around your throat. I'm still unlearning this idea. There is a hierarchy to prayer. For all of my fearful religious rearing, none of it saved me. I'm 27 and working to dismantle a false deity, a shot of concentrated grape juice masquerading as wine, masquerading as blood. I'm 27 and planning to return to Mars, dreaming of how I'll explain our rituals to aliens. Could you explain, I mean? Like, how would you explain these 3 women preening water from my scalp? Or the concept of tender-headedness? Or what gods our edges are laid to on the missing persons flyer? Is it just my eyes? Or do our baby hairs look kind of like black women curled up at the altar? Thank you.
Ignore something up on the schedule. So I have the honor of introducing Roger Robinson, who has a ridiculously long list of accomplishments. Among them is that he won the T.S. Eliot Prize, which is pretty much like the biggest poetry prize you can win in the UK. So we can give it up for that. I am so grateful that I got to meet him in person and to share the space, and that his welcome to the States, to Ohio, looks like this, this beautiful room. So please help me welcome Roger Robinson.
Give a round of applause for the DJ. You know that's one of my favorite tunes, right? I don't know how you psychically got that. Madness. It's supposed to be in the moment. Hello, everybody. Oh my God. It's such a pleasure to be here and see all your shining faces. Thank you to everyone involved. Thank you to all the student poets. You're not getting my job, so don't try it. Thank you to the guest poets. Don't try and test me. But I'm so happy to be here. But also, major thanks goes to Peter Kahn, who's responsible for bringing me here. Peter Kahn is a whirlwind, man. It's just like, I think about 22 years ago, he read one of my first poetry books in draft. And I think he was the first person to read it, so it was fresh. And he was so encouraging. And ever since that time, I realized, just a little bit of encouragement to someone on their way makes such a difference. And it gave me so much confidence. That continued on, so thanks, Pete. Also, Peter Kahn invoked all his props and all his status to say there's some poems, old poems he wanted to hear. So seeing as he brought me all these thousands of miles, encouraged me all my life, I was like, I'm gonna read some poems that Peter Kahn has decided that I should read. So I'll preface those poems with, this is part of the Pete Kahn jukebox, yeah? So when those poems coming up, I'll say, when those poems are coming up, I'll say Pete Kahn jukebox, yeah? Actually, I'll say Pete Kahn jukebox and you'll just say, hooray! Yes? Okay, so when those come up, I'll say that, right? Yeah. Okay, Pete Kahn jukebox. Hooray! So I should say extra about this poem. This poem is about my uncle, and I wrote it, he's still alive, but I wrote it when he was my uncle. Now, I'm at an age where people call me uncle. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. A few things, this is set in Trinidad, so everywhere I'm talking about in this poem is real far from everywhere else, in an island sense. So just to say that distance, I'm gonna point and just let you know we're going far, yeah? It's called Kidnap. And then there was Uncle Clyde and me in his car going to buy fresh bread when he heard that there was a wake that night in Siparia for one of his old friends. Then we were off, and Uncle Clyde was soon drinking rum and helping himself to salt biscuits and corned beef. We rang my parents and said we would be back tomorrow. My uncle and I slept in the car, our necks greasy, the smell of rum suffusing through his pores. He snored like a sledgehammer. When he woke, we went to Point Fortin to bathe in the sea. Sitting on the sand, he said, "Tonight, we're going to an Indian wedding." So we stopped and rang my parents again. At the wedding, I wasn't sure that Uncle Clyde even knew the bride or the groom. But as the music played, he danced like he was the bride's proud father, making up new dances on the spot in his creased clothes and uncombed hair. We slept on someone's wooden floor that night. We woke up and they cooked us eggs. And we were on our way to buy mangoes in Princestown. With the sweet yellow pulp dripping from his beard, he pointed out the car window. "Roger, you see all them coconut trees, all them rice fields, all that cane, all them rivers, all of that is mine." So seeing as this is called a Portable Paradise exhibition, oh yeah, pick up the artist, it's wild. The artistry is amazing. So I'm going to read A Portable Paradise, which is the title poem from the book, from the Portable Paradise book, and it's my grandmother speaking. "And if I speak of paradise, then I'm speaking of my grandmother, who told me to carry it on my person always. Concealed, so no one else would know but me. That way they can't steal it," she'd say. "And if life puts you under pressure, trace its ridges in your pocket, smell its piney scent on your handkerchief, hum its anthem under your breath. And if your stresses are sustained and daily, get yourself to an empty room. Empty your paradise onto a desk, your white sands, your green hills, and fresh fish. Shine a lamp on it like the fresh hope of morning, and keep staring at it till you sleep." My experience at Columbus was so good. Me and Pete just had a giggle fest in the car, and then we taught all these beautiful, beautiful students who just gave everything they had, so thank you everyone. Pete Kahn Jukebox. This is called Griffiths. This is a dude who I was in school with. I won't say much about it. It explains it. Griffiths. Griffiths' dad marched up the college hill. A man with an angry walk. A man with a stick. He grabbed Griffiths, the school thug, by his shirt, pulling him into the center of the football field. The dark brown skins clear against the sandy field. His father raised the switch, and we heard the swoosh and whack of each stroke. It looked like a man beating a small replica of himself. The backswing of each lash so high, it seemed to be pointing at the relentless sky. Griffith stood upright with his hands on his head. Soon, the teachers stopped teaching. The students' heads crowded the windows. He was a hated boy in the halls of the school. He robbed the younger and weaker of money, but nobody wanted this. After the 15th stroke, some boys and teachers were in tears, still watching this very public execution. By the 20th stroke, we noticed our principal's punch bobbing quickly towards the scene and physically stopping the beating. The father threw down the cane, turned and started walking without looking back. Griffiths collapsed into the principal's hug. Oh, forgive the bleaching sun. Oh, forgive the father. Oh, forgive the witnesses. Oh, Griffiths. Griffiths. You know, poems just catch you sometimes. I ain't read it in a long time too. If you saw me the other day, you'd heard this introduction before. So I was lucky enough to go on a trip around the coast of England for 2 years, back and forth, and with a friend called Johnny Pitts, who was a photographer. So I wrote poems and he took pictures, and we were, it was such an interesting experience. What I didn't know is because I don't drive and he drove for 2 years, and so there's a black man rule in England that if you drive, you control the music. And what I didn't know is that he only listens to 90s music. So for 2 years, I've been listening to Keith Sweat whilst I'm passing like white cliffs of Dover. And so that juxtaposition was real weird. But it allowed me to see lots of different juxtapositions when we came out. It kind of like toned everything. And one of them was we were parked in a car park in Dover. And we came out, and there was a tree full, not many leaves, but a tree full of parakeets. And parakeets aren't naturally from England, they're a Caribbean bird. So I thought there was something here, and they were making a whole heap of noise. So this is the poem from that. Oh, and as we went around, we found out a lot about the parakeets in England. There's like two strong theories. One of them is this Jimi Hendrix parakeets that he let go, a male and female, who just had a good old rock time. And then there was Shepton Studios where they were doing a Caribbean film in a studio there, and some idiot opened the door and all the parakeets flew out. But what I like to think is like the rock parakeets and the film parakeets kind of came together and just had a like funky old good time. So this is called 20 Parakeets. Not the common call of the crow, not ripened fruit, no blossoming flower, no flames. Not an imagined tropical film set, but 20 parakeets at home in the tree outside a Dover car park, as content as an Eddie mango tree in the Caribbean, ignoring the calls of being illegal immigrants and the murmurs that there may be a danger to local birds. They seemed assured in their fellowship enough to sing their calypso and look down on the city streets as people marched by carrying orange supermarket bags, watching the streets of red brake lights from passing cars, and children pointing at them shouting, "Look, look, look at the birdies, Mum. Look at them, dressed in their bright yellow coats." When we were traveling around, we met this middle-aged black woman, and she was super interested in the way she inhabited her body. And I always had body issues, so she inspired me to write this poem called Story. And you have to pretend like I'm a middle-aged black woman. It's not that hard. story. My body is the shape of my journey. Babies, yes, I've had a few. Stretch marks on my stomachs and hips, designed by God, they are beautiful. The flare of my nostrils is my grandmother's, which skipped a generation to center my face. 2 fully grown men still prefer my food over their wives' cooking. It's not my problem their wives can't cook. And I crave no man who doesn't adore this storied body, because it's mine, and it's the only one I've got, and it has no space for shame, mine's or yours. If your body isn't telling your story, it means someone else is using your body to tell theirs, and you better solve that problem. One of the, wow, you can hear me here? That's wild. One of the poems I used while I was teaching is called Suitcase, and it's about my mother having, I'm not reading it, so I'm telling you about it. My mother having a packed bag, just as an emergency, in case she had to leave quickly. I did a lot of research about a woman in my family, and that came from her grandmother, and it came from her grandmother. So all of them have a sense of impending balance that they have to leave quickly. So this is a longer poem, and this is about my grandmother's immigration story. So my grandmother left Trinidad and went to England. And even though Peter Kahn didn't request this, I know he likes this poem, so let's just do it. Peter Kahn jukebox! Oh my God, you can tell I'm super comfortable in Columbus. Hold on 1 second. This is called The Misuse of Magic, and it's numbered. 1. Your grandfather always had a way of just showing up. You would never hear him, and suddenly he'd be right behind you, breathing. The burnt sugar smell, a rum on his breath, paydays, woes. I had a code for the children to get into their rooms and not come out. I'd sing, a little more oil in my lamp, keep it burning. And the kids would scurry into the bedroom, all 10 of them. He'd lose his money, gambling and drinking. He'd come home angry, start an argument, and eventually punch me. When it was in the face, I really couldn't take it. Going to the market to buy food, everybody watching, looking at the swelling. It was the shame, not the pain, that made me decide to get out. One time, he turned up, sat down outside on the patio and shouted, he wanted a chicken sandwich. I jumped. I didn't even know he was outside. He knew we didn't have any chicken. I told the children to make him a sandwich with the spinach from the fridge. He just ran inside, shouted, I asked for you to make it, not she, and threw me against the ground against the wall. As he was coming towards me, I braced myself against the wall and kicked him in the chest as hard as I could, and he passed out drunk. 2. Coins disappear through only 2 things. A hand and a coin. 3. The children need money for new shoes for school. 4. Papa, stop, you killer. 5. A little more oil in my lamp, keep it burning. 7. But look at my crosses. 8. If I never learned to sew, my children would have no clothes. 9. We play that game again. Under the bed. Hands on ears. See if you can hear your heartbeats, count your breath until you reach to 100. 10. Love as strong as death itself. The magician destroys an object and restores it. 12. Even when I got on the bus, after I'd been hiding out at a friend's house for 2 weeks, as soon as the bus pulled off, I peeped outside the window over the seats, and there he was, getting smaller in the distance. Even when I got on the ship and was pulling into the port in London, I saw someone that looked just like him. And I had to stare just to make sure. Thank you. By the way, my grandmother said I shouldn't tell anybody that. But I trust you. I'll end this last poem. My son had a really convoluted birth story. And in England, a lot of the nurses are from either from the Caribbean, Africa, or Malaysia. And these nurses bring a kind of cultural knowledge that's beyond training. But they treated incredibly bad. They worked hard all through COVID, and they got like a 2% raise after, you know, risking their lives. So this is my tribute to West Indian nurses. Because this West Indian nurse cared for my son. This last one. That year, we danced to the green bleeps on screens. My son had come early. Just the 1 kilogram of him, all big head, bulging eyes, and blue veins. On the ward, I meet Grace, a Jamaican senior nurse who sang pop songs on her shift like they were hymns. Your son feisty. He just pull off all the breathing masks then. People spoke of her in half tones down these carbolic halls, and even doctors gave way to her when it comes to putting a line into my son's nylon thread of a vein. She'd warn junior doctors with trembling hands, may only letting you try twice. On her night shift, she'll pull my son's incubator into her room, no matter the tangled confusion of wires and machine. When the consultant told my wife and I in morning rounds that he's not sure my son will live, and if he lives, he might never leave the hospital. She pulled us quickly aside and said, him have no right to say that, just raw so. Another consultant tells the nurses to stop feeding a baby who will soon die. And she commands her loyal nurses to feed him. Feed him. No baby must dead with a hungry belly. And she'd sit in the dark, rocking that well-fed baby held to her bosom, slowly humming the melody of Happy by Pharrell. And I think, if by some chance I'm not here, and my son's life should flicker, then Grace, she should be the one. Thank you. My son is fine, I'm just saying that.
From England, Roger Robinson. I want to say 2 things before I hand it back over to Ajanaé. Well, 3 things. First, thank you all for being such a wonderful and packed audience. So clap for yourselves. 2, who can point in their mind to a pivotal moment that changed the course, the trajectory of their lives? Anybody have a moment like that? So in August of 2001, I met Roger Robinson, and it changed the course of my life as a poet and an educator. This wouldn't be happening if I hadn't met Roger. Needless to say, it wouldn't happen if he wasn't here. But if I hadn't met him, it wouldn't have happened. Steve Waddell wouldn't have done poetry if I hadn't met Roger Robinson. All those things go back to that moment. I learned so much from him then and since then and this week. So thanks again, Roger. So one upcoming event, I just want to let you know, if you enjoyed this, on May 11th, at the Lincoln Theater, Kappa and Thurber House are putting this on. We're bringing a poet from Virginia, Tim Siebels, who's an incredible poet, former student of mine who Ajanaé knows, Christian Rich Robbins Robinson, who was just named the top individual hip-hop artist in Chicago. He's coming from Chicago. And Cynthia Amoah will be there, as well as students that we're working with from Grandview Heights High School, Dublin, Scioto, KIPP Columbus, Northland, and Independence. And it's called Schooled on Poetry. Check it out. We hope to have a sold-out audience. It's going to be amazing. If you enjoyed this, you'll enjoy that. All right, give it up again for Ajanaé.
I am going to be short and sweet. I just want to thank all of you all for being here. We have a lot of food. So we are going to close this portion of the event out, and I encourage you all to grab some food, grab a glass of wine. There's going to be music. Feel free to dance a little bit. Feel free to move around the exhibit and enjoy the last moments of paradise, because this is the last day that this exhibition will be open. Roger Robinson's books are on sale with the Wexner Center in the back. There's also some other authors that shaped my imagination around paradise for sale as well. And I hope you'll check that out too. Thank you all so much.